It is Sunday, one of my days off, and I think I'm going to try to get some writing done. Started working on my novella again a couple nights ago and making a little bit of progress, so hopefully continue doing that. And then I'm also going to try to finish Fuccboi and maybe Hamlet. I paused my reread of Ulysses to read through Hamlet because I'd never read all the way through Hamlet. I mean, I kind of know the story, as most people who have a degree in literature do. I think Shakespeare was kind of a required thing, but I never read all the way through it. And so I want to actually read all the way through it because the next chapter of Ulysses, I think, has a lot of talk of Hamlet or referencing Hamlet in it, if I remember correctly. So I'm just going to make some coffee, get a shower, and then start my day. I have now finished Hamlet, and for the rest of the night, I think I'm going to try to knock out Fuccboi, and then I got maybe 90 pages left of that, and then I will probably not get to any Ulysses tonight, but I will probably pick that up again tomorrow. I have finished Fuccboi now. Not sure, I'll talk about it a little bit once I get my head wrapped around it a little bit more, but I kind of want to write about it as well, and a few other books that I think are similar that kind of came after this. This kind of started something, I think, but for now, it was good.
Exciting through every single moment. American history class in high school, you will know what this book is about. But if you...
Stories from Pushkin, another story from Lermontov.
Today was a success, actually. I did what I set out to do. Wrote about 700 words, which is pretty good. I'm okay with that. You'd always like to write more, but I mean, 700 is a solid day, especially just getting back into it as I am. So very, very happy with that, and more or less happy with how that project is going. I'd like to have a draft done in the next couple of weeks or so. It's a novella. It's not going to be super long, fairly autobiographical as well. So that helps and hurts. There's built-in stuff to write about, but at the same time requires a certain level of vulnerability that pure fiction just doesn't quite for me usually, at least until you start sharing it with people. But also finished Hamlet. Never been a big fan of Shakespeare. Still not a big fan of Shakespeare. I joke around all the time and say that like Shakespeare's shit, you know. That's an exaggeration. I do think potentially overrated, which is a hot take, and I know that. And I'm okay with that. You know, talented, if he did write them, if he did write the plays, talented guy. I don't know much to say. Read it because I'm reading Ulysses, and the next chapter, and throughout the book, they talk about Hamlet some. I believe the next episode is like a very Hamlet intensive one, and so I wanted to, you know, knock that out. Still not terribly impressed. I'm sure he's very worried about my concern when he's roasting in hell. So, just kidding. I also read Fuccboi. I had about 80, 90 pages left when I started today. I'd been reading this just on my lunch breaks solely because the sections are short. It reads quickly. I was very, very impressed with this. I think this is it's very unique. And the J. McInerney blurb and the Sheila Heti blurb were two that just, I like those two authors a lot. I think they're both creative, talented, tasteful, in their own ways, and I am immediately intrigued when I see either one of them talking about a book. The fact that both of them blurbed this felt like this was going to be a book for me, despite the fact that it's called Fuccboi. And yeah, I've never read anything like this, but it was incredible. And I've taken a lot of little quotes out of context with this thing and sent them to friends, and they're kind of funny, but the book is meant to be taken as a whole, and I think taking the book as a whole is what really gives it the kind of status that it has in my mind now. Like, this is a work of literature, and it's got that edginess in a way that, like, Bret Easton Ellis had with his early books. You know, it's Less Than Zero, it's McInerney's Bright Lights, Big City. It's got a little bit of that experimental Sheila headiness going on. There's just all sorts of things, and I think books like this are spawning other books that are coming out now. I recently read Rejection, and it kind of feels like a book that is this same, in the same vein, another unique kind of novel that's sort of experimental. And I love that novels can still be experimental, and actually reading through this has kind of helped me get back into writing my own novel, because my own novel is sort of it's in second person, or novella rather. It's in second person, like Bright Lights, Big City. It's very much inspired by things like Bright Lights, Big City, by Knausgaard's My Struggle, by something like this now that kind of just, you know, the voice in this is the main part. That's what drives you through the whole thing. No matter what else is happening, it's got a good plot, it's got a good structure, but the voice is the thing that pulls you in and keeps you going through this. It's just the writing. And that's something I hope to do with my own books, with my own stories, with my own writing. And so having kind of this at this time has just been very inspirational, not in content, because my life's been so much different than this dude's, but like just in general, just inspirational, that you, and a reminder to take risks when you write. This was a risky book to write. Like, it's kind of crazy this book got published in some ways, because publishers are so mindful of playing it safe these days. I think this was published in 2022, but I mean, that's kind of close enough. Publishers are playing it very safe these days, I feel like, especially big publishers. And this feels like a small press book, which in my mind is a compliment, right? I mean that well. It feels edgy. It feels kind of, what's that word? It's Latin. Blanking completely. Avant-garde. It feels avant-garde. It took me way too long. That's French. It's not Latin. Ignore me. It's not English. Avant-garde. It feels kind of pushing towards the future in a lot of ways. It's a new way to write a book. And, you know, you can pick out pieces of it and look at it and be like, this is just Ulysses. Joyce wrote it, and I think I've seen some of Sean's podcasts, right? And he's talking about he wrote this book for people who don't read books. Joyce wrote Ulysses for the everyman, for the normal Irishman but it became this sort of thing. It was so like intense, and reading it 100 years later, of course, it's very difficult to parse at times, but possibly he wrote it for working class, blue collar Irishmen. He was just ridiculously intelligent. So it I don't know how, I mean, I don't think it got published in Ireland for a while. It was banned and shit. But and that's kind of like, this got published, but I mean, it's been like shit on. They're trying very hard, it feels like, to make this book seem less important than it is potentially for the future of literature. And maybe I'm blowing this way out of proportion. I don't know. But if more people wrote books like this, took risks like this, we would have better books in general. My Substack the other day, I went on a brief tangent / rant about the kind of state of the publishing industry and just how much garbage. And by garbage, I don't mean like just everyone has their own tastes, right? I recently read Alchemised, and for the type of book it is very well done. It held me captive for 1,000+ pages, and I don't normally read books like that. And I just read it to see what it was about, and I enjoyed it. It's not a work of literature in the same sense of, something like Ulysses or something like that, of course not. But I mean, there is a place for that type of a book, and I think that's great. But there's so much just pure garbage that's being published today. Editors often don't seem to want to actually like edit, and I don't know if it's a sort of malaise. I don't know if it's like laziness in the publishing industry, or if it's more just editors are being overworked and they're trying to hit quotas, or I don't know what it is. I'm not in that side of the industry. I'm in the book selling part of the industry with my day job, and so I don't really see that necessarily. But I like stuff like this that is just kind of pushing that edge of what you can do with a book and doing it damn well. I kind of want to look back at Rejection, look at Fuccboi. There's another one called My First Novel by Honor Levy, I think it's Levi. And Madeline Cash book looks like it may kind of fall under this category. There's a bunch of books that kind of feel like they could fall under this, whether they were kind of came from this and were like, oh wait, I can do more than I thought I could with a novel. Or whether it just kind of all happened at the same time with the way culture is progressing and the way online identities are shifting and everything. I don't know, but I'm kind of interested in looking at this and maybe writing something about it. We'll see what I do. But yeah, just fascinating book, really compulsively readable. I could have sat down and read this probably in a day, but I kind of chose for it to be my lunch book that I would read on my lunch breaks, knock out, 30, 40 pages at a time during my lunch hour after I ate. So kind of gave me more time to sit with it, which was good, obviously. I think that's all I got to say for now. If you stuck around this far, thank you. Till next time.